Greetings, and thank you for joining us for the 11th episode of DC Animation with Spenser and Friends. This is an LMG Podcast Production. Today, I'm joined by a dear friend.
Hello, I am that dear friend. My name is Alexis.
Alexis, so happy that you could be here with me today. Real quick, can you just tell me about your DC consumption? Comic books, video games, movies, TV shows. What DC are you or have you been consuming?
So I think as a child, I probably consumed more DC animation because I used to watch Teen Titans and then the Justice League all the time, and then the animated movies randomly. But I think I've geared more over to a Marvel person as of late, just because of all that content.
I get it. I'm not surprised. That's the track a lot of people have taken. So, that's okay. So as far as DC goes, who do you like?
Well, I like the big three, obviously. So there's Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman because he's cool. But yeah, I like Green Lantern too, just because they're different. So yeah, we'll talk about that. I grew up with a different Green Lantern though than what most of them are now. So back in my day, it was John Stewart,
That is
not Hal
correct.
Jordan.
That's correct. It's John Stewart. I live in that same place. My Green Lantern is John Stewart, and I was kind of upset when I found out he wasn't the OG.
Yeah, I did not know that until the bad Ryan Reynolds movie came out.
Wow.
Because I was like, why is a white man
playing John
Green
Stewart?
Lantern?
Oh, that's so funny. I knew about Hal before that, but whenever I found out that John was not like the first one or the OG one, I was like, of course he wasn't. Great. Cool. That's not what I wanted to hear today. I was sad. I was not happy about it, but it's fine, I guess. Today we're going to talk about Hal a little bit. This movie was only barely about Hal, but
He was the narrator keeping the plot going.
So I will say I appreciate you for joining us on this journey through DC animation. Today's film is Green Lantern Emerald Knights. This film was released July 7th, 2011. I will read a synopsis of this film and then we're just going to talk about it. So, yeah, we open with a Green Lantern battling shadow demons that emerge from a star, and, well, RIP. The Guardians then call a staff meeting to discuss what happened. They were sent by Krona, and we learn a little bit more. We learn a little bit about Krona. The Guardians know that Krona does not play around, and so they decide to evacuate because, again, Krona does not play around. While standing in line to charge their rings, Hal begins to tell Arisia the story of the first Green Lantern. There was chaos, and the Guardians had to do something. So they used the power of will to create Green Lantern rings. 4 rings were created, and one of them found its way to Avra, who was essentially the Guardians' stenographer. The 4 lanterns are then thrown into the thick of things, and they are destroying enemy ships left and right, but they were just too much, and one of the first 4 Green Lanterns dies. The other 3 are discussing what needs to happen next, and they decide to retreat, but Avra decides, no, I ain't going out like that. And he wills his first construct, and of course, they get the W, because he shows that he has the willpower that is needed to get the job done. And then, of course, more rings are created, and Avra's lessons are taught to all of the Green Lanterns, hence now and forevermore. For the next story time, we meet Deegan, the GL drill instructor that trains a young Kilowog. Deegan takes the new Lantern's rings from them and makes them try to survive under very deadly circumstances. Kilowog asks why and gets his ass beat for it. Then they are made aware of a battle, and Deegan gives some encouraging words, and then RIP. They do win the battle, but Deegan, sacrifices himself in order to make that happen. For the next story time, we learn about Lyra. For her first mission alone, she is sent to her home, and she just finds it in ruin. She and her evil stepmother fight, and she comes out with the W pretty easily. Then she has to fight her brother, and that one, is a little harder, but she comes out with the W on that one too. We get flashbacks of the invasion, and we see that Lyra inherits the Green Lantern ring, and her dad is pissed. And of course, he is the final boss fight. So after he gets his ass beat in round 2, he seppukus. In the next episode of Storytime, we learn about Bolfunga and Mogo. So Bolfunga wants to be the greatest warrior there ever was, and so he's just defeating people all over the place, trying to prove that he is the GOAT. After taking his last victory, he is made aware of Mogo, someone he has not yet defeated. So, of course, Bolfunga goes to find Mogo. Bolfunga lands on a planet and starts looking for Mogo, cutting down trees, just causing a ruckus, blowing things up, only to realize that Mogo is, in fact, the planet. And Bolfunga finds himself being defeated. Before the next story time, Shadow Demons attack and Arisia is knocked out. We then jump into the next story time, which is about Abin Sur. He is fighting Atrocitus with a low battery. And Atrocitus tries to destroy the battery, but Abin Sur gets the charge he needs and defeats him. He and Sinestro then start discussing whether or not destiny is a real thing. Atrocitus lets Abin Sur know of the future that he sees, which involves Sinestro destroying the Green Lanterns. Of course, Abin Sur doesn't believe him and locks his ass up. In present times, Krona emerges from the sun, and dude is a problem. Arisia comes up with a plan to throw a planet at him, and they, start making that happen, and then the Shadow Demons show up, and it's an issue. Like, the Shadow Demons are about to, stop this from happening. But luckily, Mogo shows up, and they throw the planet at him, and Krona is defeated. They update their Bible with the recent events, and they use Mogo as the new Lantern HQ. Credits.
I appreciate that you said that they update their Bible, because the whole time I was watching this, I was like, are the Green Lanterns a cult? Is this a religion? What is happening? Ran by little blue Yodas? What's happening?
Okay, let's talk about that. So, do you see the Green Lantern as a cult? What defines a cult? At what point are we no longer a cult, or at what point is it actually a cult?
Well, I mean, if it's a cult, it's not necessarily a bad one, because they're going for the greater good, because they're the green guys, not the red guys, So they're trying to be better, but they're once you have the ring, you die for the ring. And I was like, oh, okay. You have no autonomy over your life anymore.
It's a little culty. I'm not gonna disagree with that. And not every cult is bad. We typically associate the word cult with negativity for obvious reasons. Usually with cults, somebody claims themselves to be God, and they require obedience from their followers or whatever. We do kind of have that. And I guess because this is comic books, it's a little different, but with cults, they kind of find people at their lowest and convince them that this is what's best for them. The Green Lanterns do that a little bit, but they don't, I guess, actively recruit. They only look for people as needed, and they let the rings do it for them, because the rings are sentient, I guess, and the rings know who the worthy people are, because the Guardians of the Galaxy, or the Guardians of the Universe, I'm sorry, know everything. So, one could argue that the Green Lanterns are a cult. They are an intergalactic police force, and they protect different sectors of the universe. But I'm not mad at the whole cult idea. So, firstly, are you familiar with an anthology series?
Yeah, like I literally have a note like I appreciated the anthology of all of this because it was like the beginning where we are now.
Yeah, like this was very much, this ran like an anthology because it told several different stories that were independent but connected. And sometimes an anthology can work and sometimes it can't. Do you feel like it worked here?
I feel like to an extent, yes, because like I had to watch it a couple times, not gonna lie. But when I like rewatched it, I was like, oh yeah, no, this makes sense because if you're not familiar with like the lore and like how Green Lanterns happen, like you just think, oh, they just show up one day. You don't know that the ring like chooses them and stuff. It helped explain a lot of that. So that was good. And then by the time I got to the end, it was like, oh, okay, cool. So they all just kind of work together.
Yeah, because I feel like there was an earlier episode we did with Green Lantern First Flight, which is an origin story for Hal Jordan. I feel like this kind of acted as an origin story for the Green Lantern concept. And then it took us through, some of the people that we see and some of the people that, you would otherwise not really know about. I feel like as far as popular Green Lanterns, most people know who Abin Sur is. Most people have at least seen Kilowog. But a lot of people would not have known Lyra. Arisia is new. Mogo, like you may not know who Mogo is, but yeah. So I feel like, it did some necessary storytelling as far as the Green Lantern lore goes. Now, what did you think of the first piece of the anthology? So Avra.
So I liked that one a lot, but then at the end, okay, so I didn't know the name of the Green Lantern, so I just kept calling it the credit card looking one, the flat one.
Oh,
When
yeah.
they were like, we need to just leave. I was like, that's not the way. And then Avril was like, no, we must find it within ourselves. And then he goes out there and turns into like a badass when he was the one that was like scared the whole time because he was like, I'm just a scribe. What do I do? But I thought that one was cool because at the end it was like explaining like eventually Avra would fall too, and then it would all go into its thing. And then also like immediately one of the OG Green Lanterns like died. And I was like, oh no. And the ring, boop, went and did its thing. So yeah, I thought that one was a good kind of like base to build everything off of because like you were saying, it's more of an origin for the lantern like itself. So it was kind of explaining like you have to have the will within yourself and like the drive to do the thing. And so they did the thing.
Yeah. One thing I forgot to ask about. So in the beginning, that first Green Lantern that we see, where like the shadow demons show up, like the way that they killed people was like they just disappeared.
Yeah, I literally was like, oh, she got ripped to shreds.
She got ripped to nothing. Like
Yeah.
she was gone. Like the only thing left was the wrist. And
Yeah, like you were like RIP, and I was like, yeah,
yeah,
RIP. As
like
Kilowog's like, where are you? What are you doing? Ah.
yeah, what's going on? Tell me. And yeah, no. Yeah, those shadow demons, they were a serious problem because again, they were obliterating people. And these are Green Lanterns who have like shields and stuff, and they just like ate her. And so yeah, it that was yikes. Those things they put some stakes in there because again, like people were just disappearing. And so it would suck to like fight one of those things and live, but like one of your limbs didn't make it. Cause that's very much a possibility. Like they make things disappear, like they do magic tricks. So
Like, could you imagine trying to wield the magic of the ring with like one arm?
Yeah, it wouldn't be great. So yeah. The credit card looking one is hilarious, by the way. That's
I was like, okay, credit card, just whipping. And then it was like, we need to run away. And I was like, what?
and evidently the credit card was a warrior. Credit card had, done this before and knew what the deal was, but that was and the credit card, what it did, like when it turned itself like into a bullet and just like ran through that ship, I was like, that was a good move.
Yeah.
You could, and only able to do that because of the credit cardness.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. That's weird. Okay. So, what do you think about the second story?
Deegan was a wild ride.
Yeah, he was. And that's so normally I, point out a comic book origin for these movies, and I'm not as familiar with Green Lantern, so I don't know what the comic book base for this movie was, or if each story had its own comic book origin, or if any of them did it, like if any of it was based in comic books, or if this was a completely new story. But I do know that is pretty close to Kilowog's origin. I think the drill sergeant guy had a different name, but from what I remember, that is like Kilowog's origin story pretty much to the letter. I remember Kilowog being called a poozer and being in, put in dangerous situations and surviving, and then being like, what the fuck, guy? And then them being like, oh, there's a situation that we need to go handle. And then that guy dies, but says to Kilowog, you're a real lantern now, son. And like draws in his own blood the little lantern symbol. So like I know that all of that does happen, but that's the only comic book reference that I'm aware of. So if anybody knows, what comic books these things come from, if at all, then you can let us know. We talk about it all the time, but we have a Facebook group and a Twitter page and a YouTube channel. And so, yeah, you can let us know on any of those things. So anyway, I'm not going to spend too much time plugging the socials. We're just going to talk about this movie and the things associated with it. But yeah, he was a wild ride. And whenever he took off his ring and he was like, what did you just say to me?
And then continues to beat his ass.
Beat his ass. Like, because I wasn't sure how that was going to go. Because Kilowog, the Kilowog we know is
a big dude.
He's formidable. But yeah, he beat his ass. And then went on to say, like, growing old is a luxury in this line of work. And so how dare you come at me with the I don't care about you and I want to see you be hurt rhetoric. We're not doing that. I am here to make sure that you are prepared. And then, there's some mess that happens. So yeah. Deegan was interesting. And since you come from the MCU, you may feel this way or not. If you're familiar with Guardians of the Galaxy, Deegan may have given Yondu energy just a little bit.
Yeah, because it was very like, because he called him like Brillo butt and stuff. And then after he beats his ass, has to give them their rings back and dropped it on the ground. And I was like, oh!
Like the disrespect.
I was like, you already beat him up.
Yeah,
throw the ring that you respect, you threw on the ground.
Yeah, like, oh, the disrespect. But then whenever they go to the planet, start fighting, and then Kilowog comes to save him, he almost does like a you make me proud, Kilowog. And he with his dying declaration is like, you did it. You are truly a lantern in my eyes, and I respect you because you came through like you were supposed to.
Yeah, just like Yondu to Peter was like, you've always been my boy.
Yeah. I mean, and of course, Deegan doesn't have a I'm Mary Poppins, y'all, but that's okay. So, yeah, what about the third story?
Dude, Lyra's family, trash.
There
Like
was some trauma in there.
every single one of them. I was like, dang, dude. Because like evil stepmom, I was like, ew. Her brother just acting a fool. And then her dad was literally like hating on her because he was jealous that he didn't get chosen and she got chosen instead. And I'm like, dude, that's why you did not get chosen? Because you wanted it for selfish reasons.
That's exactly why. So with the evil stepmother, I was a little confused. Like, I didn't realize she was in like a suit. I thought that
I
that
didn't
was
either.
I thought that was just her, and I was like, oh, okay, Dad, that's quite a choice.
It's a robot, just C3PO in the sky.
Yeah, like that thing's face doesn't move, and I don't like it. And then she like ripped the little mask off, and I was like, there's a person under there.
Yeah, I was like, oh, they're purple. Okay,
Okay.
they're a part
I
of the
thought
crew.
I thought she was just, yeah. And so yeah, we learn eventually that this is a situation where her father like decided to lay waste to any and all opposition, because I'm sure that she may not have known exactly what she was walking into, but she probably figured, oh, I figured the stepmother was behind my people trying to destroy others, but it was actually you, father, and I can't get behind that. So yeah, the evil stepmother, that was light work. That was easy. Like, she didn't have to take long. And then whenever she dropped down, and she was at the door and the guards were there, she was like, you can let me in or you can get these hands too. She didn't say that. She was like, I really don't want to fight, guys. Just let me in. But I took it to mean you can either step aside or you can get these hands. And he made the right choice. He moved out of the way.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, the brother, I was like, just finish him. Like, beat his ass. Get him out of here. I don't like him. I don't like him at all.
I'm like, he was cocky. He was turning invisible. I was like, what is this? No.
Yeah. And then she was like, all right, enough of that. And then she like cleared the room. So yeah. So then we get to Dad, the final boss fight. Now we see some family trauma here. And I mean, the good thing is she was a warrior from her upbringing. So, she was able to hold her own with or without the ring. But with Dad, I thought that was an interesting dynamic, because that is something that does happen in real life from time to time. A parent being jealous of a child because the child is, outshining them, or, doing better than they are, the one who actually gets chosen or whatever. And it was especially hard for him because like it hit him right in the pride. Like, he was defeated and was like, cool, I'm going to get this ring and I'm going to be able to handle this as the king and the leader. And that's not what happened. And I think that he was mad not only because he couldn't do it, but because his daughter called in help from other people. And
Yeah, because
I think that's what bothered him the most, is like, you're supposed to come to me when things go badly, but you have this new family that you called in, and I don't like it.
yeah, because like she goes in to the room where Dad is, and automatically this little like memory thing opens, and it's her as like a little kid, and it's like her going to him, and then he brings up like this doll, and he's like, I used to give it to you when you were having a hard time, but then we decided that you were too soft, and we were going to turn you into a warrior now. And then he was just like, you always came to me, and then you stopped. And I was like, dude, calm down. Like, his pride, like his ego got hit so bad, and so he just turned into like chaos.
Yeah, a terrible guy. Now, Lyra's voice actress, Kelly Hu. I love Kelly Hu. Kelly Hu is in a bunch of DC things, and she's a voice that I immediately recognized. Like, when I hear her, I'm like, that's Kelly Hu. She, I don't know this to be true, but she might be in the most DC projects, be it live action or animated. Like, she's in a lot of stuff as a lot of people. So I'm glad that they used her in this movie. I would have probably used her as someone else, but that's okay. I'm not mad about it. We'll talk about kind of voice acting in general later on. But yeah, I did notice one thing in her story. So the Green Lantern whose ring she inherited, you know, the thing with the big head and the little limbs.
You mean the MODOK?
I mean, that's disrespectful, but yes.
He's trash, but that's what I immediately thought when I saw it, because it's just a big head with tiny limbs.
Yes. And I know him as Gallius Zed. I'm pretty sure that's the name that I know him as. Now, he died, right? But then when we come out of the flashback, he was in the room.
Yeah, see, that's what made me think, like, is there another, like, same species
There has to be.
as him? Because, yeah, I'm like, dude died. Like, he got beat to death.
But he's the only one that I've only ever seen one large head Green Lantern, and it's Gallius Zed. So if there are more of him, then I don't know about it, because we know that there are multiple human Green Lanterns. And so maybe there are multiple MODOK Green Lanterns. But yeah, I was confused when I was like, oh, he died, and then, oh, he's standing right there in today's times.
I feel like the animators just got a little lazy and said, oh, we have to bring in all these Green Lanterns, copy paste.
Because there are so many of them, and they have, you know, different species. They could have used another credit card.
Yeah, like, you just have to change it from pink to, like, purple or something, and it would have been just fine.
Yeah, but I don't know if that was the same person, because if it was the same person, then that makes no sense. But if it was, like, again, I don't, and it may be because I don't know Green Lantern super well, but as far as I know, there's only one MODOK Green Lantern, and he died, and then he was in the room whenever they were, you know, evacuating or whatever. So I thought that was weird, but yeah, and he seppuku'd. That's not what I expected to happen. But yeah, he was like, no, I'm going to maintain my honor, because he got defeated by his daughter because he put on the ring and the ring rejected him.
Yeah, I literally yelled, not him falling on his sword, taking the coward's way out.
Yeah, he did a straight seppuku, and I was surprised by that. Okay, what about the next one? Bolfunga and Mogo.
Mofunga was really out here doing the most. And I was like, my guy, simmer down.
He wanted to be the GOAT. He said, no challenger can defeat me. And we've seen that concept several times all over the place. But yeah, he just kind of had an electric axe and a bunch of probes that he could do with whatever he wanted. So yeah, but I mean, evidently he was a problem. And he was voiced by Roddy Piper, for our wrestling fans out there.
I knew that voice sounded familiar. I was like, why am I hearing this?
Yeah, like, who do I know?
Space.
Yeah, and that's, yeah, it was definitely Rowdy Roddy Piper. Now that one, I knew how that one was going to go, because I'm familiar with Mogo, and so whenever he landed, I was like, this is not going to go well for him. This is not going to go well for him at all.
I was not. So I was like, oh, at the end of that, I went, oh, shit. Oh, shit. I was like, it's the planet. Because I was like, how is he missing this thing? Because all those little probes were like, Green Lantern matter, Green Lantern matter. Yeah. And then I was like, oh, because it's where he's literally just on it for months.
They tried to give you a little hint, because when he started cutting down trees, there was some like little Green Lantern energy just kind of coming from the ground. So they tried to like let you think like, oh, what's that? What's happening there? But yeah, unless you knew Mogo was the planet, you would not know that Mogo was the planet, because did they make a ring that size, or is the ring just somewhere on Mogo? or what's the deal? Because
Yeah.
Mogo just looks like a regular planet until it decides to show the Green Lantern emblem.
Well, and Mogo doesn't socialize according to all the other Green Lanterns too. And then that like Titan that Mufungo fought earlier was like, but Mogo.
Yeah, you haven't defeated Mogo yet, though. And he was like, who the fuck is Mogo? I just the guy you haven't defeated yet. That's all I can tell you.
You won't.
You won't. He's too much. And that was funny. Because he got like and Mogo turned the gravity on. I was like, oh, that's not good. That is not good at all. I kind of wonder how the Guardians decided, like, yes, this planet has willpower and is worthy.
Because like I feel like living planets have been like a thing in like various spheres of stuff, but yeah, I don't know. Like what makes you just go, oh yeah, this jungly planet
is
gonna save us all.
And if Mogo doesn't socialize, I'm surprised Mogo agreed to be the HQ. Because Mogo doesn't like anyone, and now the entire unit is living on him. So yeah, that's I thought that was interesting. What about the next story? Abin Sur. I'm pretty sure Abin Sur is the next one.
I think it's Abin Sur, yeah. Because they had the they attacked.
Yeah, and she got knocked out.
And she got knocked out. Then it was.
And then Sinestro was the one telling her about Abin Sur.
Yeah, because he was like, "Let me tell you about my friend."
Which makes sense because, as the hint is given earlier, if you didn't already know this, Abin Sur is who Hal's ring came from. And they show you that whenever they show Avra, and then the subsequent ring holders from there. So it was Avra, somebody, Abin Sur, Hal. So, yeah. Of course, Hal has the OG's actual ring, but
he's the main character.
Exactly. So, like, of course, but yeah. So, Abin Sur's story. What'd you think?
That red dude was a problem, and then I'm also like, why would you let your ring get that low? Like, that's like living with your phone on 5% and hoping for the best.
So, a question for you: are you familiar with any of the other lantern ring colors?
There's yellow and red, right? And then those are the big two, the other big two, right? And then there's a few, like a purple one or something like that.
So pretty much every main color has one, and then white and black and all that. But so the thing with this is we actually, like, I'm glad you mentioned yellow and red, because both of those are relevant with this particular story. So we see in Atrocitus's flash forward that Sinestro develops the yellow ring core through fear, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the red rings are rage. And Atrocitus is the first red ring holder. Now, this Atrocitus looked very different than I know Atrocitus to look, to the point where I didn't know it was Atrocitus until they called him that. So if you Google or if you look up Atrocitus, you'll be like, yeah, he's red, but that's the only thing that he has in common with this guy, because that is not my Atrocitus.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know Atrocitus well enough to know like his life before becoming a Red Lantern. But each color is fueled by something. So Green Lanterns are fueled by will, Yellow Lanterns are fueled by fear, Red Lanterns are fueled by rage. And so when you get a red ring, like all of the blood leaves your body, and your body is it's just replaced with pure anger and fury and rage, pretty much. And when you get your Red Lantern ring, like I think all like the blood just escapes your body. And yeah, it's ugly, but that's kind of what rage is. So I don't know much about Atrocitus. I don't know if Atrocitus is in fact a prophet. but I do know that I was very confused when they started calling that thing Atrocitus, because that is not what Atrocitus looks like in my head. So, yeah. Anyway, that was a good one. And that was the last story time before we're just in present day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then in present day, it's just kind of, okay, this is what we're doing. So Krona shows up, and Krona's a fucking problem.
Yeah.
Krona's huge, and Krona got shadow demons, and Krona is just kind of obliterating people. And the Guardians were correct to take him seriously, because in the beginning, Sinestro's like, aren't we like overreacting a little bit? And the Guardians like, no, we're not. You have not seen what I've seen. This dude is serious. So
You're gonna come in here and start smoking some fools. We gotta leave.
Yeah, we're leaving. Get your shit. We're leaving. Like we've already put the Bible up. So get your shit.
They were like this, and then now the library.
Yeah. First the Bible, then all the other books. But yeah, he and the fact that he was yellow made sense. Because they hate the color yellow or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know much about Krona, but Krona sounds like one of those like large scale universe style villains that like doesn't show up often and requires a whole lot to handle. He may be specific to the Green Lanterns, but I don't remember seeing Krona in any of the Justice League things that I have consumed. So,
well, yeah.
Usually Krona means like time to me. Like if something is named Krona, I feel like they usually are involved with time. So the fact that this wasn't surprised me a little bit. But I like that their solution was just we throw a planet at him.
Mogo.
Like, how do you defeat antimatter? With matter. So we throw a planet at him. And I was like, but if everything is matter, like, how did he come out of a star? That's matter. So like,
yeah, like how was there a rift that was letting all the little shadow demons come out, and then eventually he just like walks out of it later? Like what?
Yeah, like I didn't understand that, but I guess they, comic book science is stupid, and I could spend all day being mad about that, but there are dudes with green rings flying in space, and that's fine.
Yeah.
So, I guess if throwing a planet is how you kill him, that's how you kill him. And that's fine. So, they got the W. That's what's important. And, Mogo had a lot to do with that, because if it wasn't for Mogo, wouldn't have happened.
Could you imagine if they didn't have the Mogo story in there? And then it just...
Yeah, and Mogo just showed up.
People would have been like, what the hell is that?
Yeah. If they hadn't told us about Mogo, and then Mogo just appeared, it'd be like, what in the hell? Like, there's a Green Lantern planet. Like, what? Why aren't y'all there? So, yeah. I'm glad, they needed to tell us about Mogo first, because if Mogo just appeared, people who don't know what's going on would have been super confused.
Yeah.
So, how did you feel about the art style here? I mean, just with what DC you have consumed already, what did you think? Did you like the art style? Do you prefer a different art style? Were you indifferent about it? What were your thoughts?
I liked it, I think, for the most part, because it was like everybody was there. You knew who people were. Like you could tell, because like sometimes the art style, when it changes or it's like a new version of it, you're like, that doesn't look like that person. So you were able to like really conceptualize it. So I didn't like really think anything about it much. So yeah, I guess I was kind of indifferent about it.
Okay. And that's I mean, I asked this question because usually you feel one of three ways. Either you really, really like the art style, you don't like the art style, or you're indifferent about it. And because sometimes the art style can be like off-putting, or the style that they chose just isn't right for this.
Mm-hmm.
So it It can vary. I'm
Yeah.
kind of also in the middle. Like, it didn't bother me, but it's not my favorite art style. So
Yeah.
it just kind of was, and that's fine. So yeah, I feel like everybody made sense. And everybody looked appropriate, I guess.
Hmm.
How did you feel about the voice cast?
Nathan Fillion was
I
Hal.
I love Nathan Fillion. Nathan Fillion is like, if there's a role that asks for or requires a white dude, I'm probably going to suggest Nathan Fillion. Like, he's my knee jerk. They should use Nathan Fillion. Like, if they did a live action he's who I wanted to be Hal when they were talking about live action Green Lantern. Like, Nathan Fillion. I also want Nathan Fillion to be Booster Gold, but you know, Nathan Fillion can't be everybody, and I don't like it. I kind of want Nathan Fillion to be everybody.
He's just so great and charismatic with everything. Because he, like, at the end of it, like, they're flying off. He goes, "Let me tell you about the time where I was fighting this thing and my only help was a squirrel." And I was just like, yeah, he's the only one able to sell that line.
Yeah. So love Nathan Fillion. And I think that if Nathan Fillion was Green Lantern moving forward, that'd be fine with me. Because again, I'm not a huge fan of Hal, but if it was Nathan Fillion, that might help.
It did help because I was like, oh, okay. And then he started talking, and then all I could think was Richard Castle because he was in Castle.
Yep. Castle is like the first time I remember seeing him and being like, I think I like Nathan Fillion.
Yeah.
And then I feel like I just started seeing him all over the place. And I was like, this is fine.
He just makes cameos in everything.
And it's great.
Yeah.
It's yeah, and this is not his only DC project, because DC is very good about keeping people around and reusing them and utilizing the talent that they have used before. And so if you've seen the second Suicide Squad movie, Nathan Fillion is the one whose arms detach.
That's funny.
Yeah. And he dies, but that's fine.
A lot of them die in that. So.
A lot of them die. I really liked Nathan Fillion in Santa Clarita's Diet. Like, that was very much a random, like, he was ahead for a lot of it. And that's fine. So yeah, just I'm glad that it was Nathan Fillion.
Mm-hmm.
So but yeah, there were I like the voice. I think I like a British Sinestro.
Yeah, it's very like soothing because I feel like he's kind of the one that's very like level-headed, very like, hey, this is the way we do things. Or
Yeah.
at least in this one he was, because he was like, here's his story.
and they only sprinkled in that he's evil, like, eventually, like, because this is the only time I've seen a story where like Sinestro isn't the bad guy.
Yeah, because I was like, oh, okay, he's like not over here causing problems.
Because that's, yeah, like, we know Sinestro as the guy, like, as the arch nemesis, as the biggest rival of, because as we know, comic books will usually have a guy who can do the exact same thing as you as your arch nemesis.
Yeah.
Not always, but in most cases. And so Sinestro is that for Hal. Like, he's the parallel. And so to see Sinestro be a good guy this entire movie was interesting to me, because that's not usually what we see. And this movie kind of goes in contrast from the other Green Lantern movie, because in the first Green Lantern movie, First Flight, we see Sinestro go evil in that. And he goes evil for Hal's first mission. In this, obviously, Hal been around for a minute, to the point where he's the elder statesman telling stories, and Sinestro is still a good guy.
Something's wrong in that timeline right there.
I mean, and that's why these movies are not connected to each other. They are both standalone. Like, they do not, they don't connect at all, and that's for the best. But I thought it was, I like the idea of seeing a pre-yellow Sinestro. For the entire movie, because in the other movie we see that he's green for the majority of the movie, and then we see him go yellow. But in this one, like, we only see a flash forward to the future. We never actually see it happen in the timeline that we're in right now. Just like we don't see Atrocitus become a red ring wearer. I almost called him a Red Ranger. The red ring.
Yeah,
Red
because he's
Lantern. There it is.
He's in a prison.
Yeah. And I mean, this movie doesn't have a sequel as far as I know, so that's just where he gonna be until further notice. Because I wondered if this movie was going to get a sequel because Abin Sur, was told Sinestro was going to be a problem. And Sinestro is the one who said to Arisia, like, hey, it looks like you fulfilled the prophecy of destroying Oa.
Yeah. Like, and then I also love how Abin Sur was like, not my friend.
Yeah, not my Sinestro.
He may not believe in destiny, but he would never.
He would never.
Plot twist, my guy. You didn't live to see it.
Yeah, it turns out Atrocitus was not wrong eventually. Or maybe this is a universe where that never happens. We don't know because there's no sequel. So, who knows? But yeah, do you have any other thoughts on the movie? Or was there anything else you noticed, anything else you saw that you want to bring up or talk about?
She made the book, so she's in the Bible now.
She's in the Bible now. She got her own, and Hal said, look, you got your own story now. Congratulations.
I was like, oh, look at that. Just tying up that little loose end at the end. Clean send off.
And so you could almost argue that she's the main character in this movie. Because Hal is the one on the cover, but she's the one who's getting all of the lessons. She's the one who comes up with the idea to win. And she's the one who makes the Bible. So you could argue Arisia is the main character in this film.
Yeah, because we see her pretty much from like the beginning, because you see her running to go see what's going on. And then she's in the one in line charging her ring where Kilowog's bumping into her every 5 seconds. And so, yeah, I feel like she was, I think, more of a main character.
So, you know how you're familiar with the MCU. So with how they are currently in the process of introducing all of these young superheroes and bringing in like the new blood and all of that. That's what this felt like. If it would have kept going, it would have felt like Hal was kind of passing the torch on to Arisia to now be the face. That's what this movie felt like as I was watching it. Now, of course, I know that there's no sequel, but if there was one, it would have felt like, oh, she's the future.
Yeah.
Like, whenever Sinestro does go evil, Hal is going to die or be mortally wounded, and she's going to have to be the one to rise up and willpower her way out of this.
And then John will show up, and...
Yeah, we'll get John, because... And for all we know, there were, whenever Crota clapped, a lot of people died. And John might get one of those rings. Who knows? But, scale of 1 to 10. What are you giving this movie?
Ooh. Go with this. I'm going to go with this. This is hard. Just because John's not in it. I'm going to go with the 7.
Okay. Not mad at the bias. That's fine. I'm thinking 6.5.
Yeah.
Because it's a little better than a 6, but it's not quite a 7 for me. There are some good things, but I wasn't blown away or anything. And that's not just because me and Green Lantern don't, get along like that, but it just wasn't spectacular. And that's okay. I will say this is the movie, in my opinion, after this is when it gets real good. This is the movie, this movie is in the middle, not it's on the bottom end of the quality, but from here on for a while, straight hitters. And I am excited. It's going to be great. Because this is the last just okay movie for a minute. Everything that comes after this, I love dearly for a while. The next probably 5, 6, 7 episodes, hitters. So it's going to be fun. So you say 7. I think that's reasonable. I don't have a problem with that. I think that that makes sense. So yeah, this is there is a Jon Stewart solo Green Lantern movie. It's gonna be a while before we discuss that one. Like
That one's new, isn't it? Like it's like last year it came out or something like that.
Yeah, like it's pretty new. Like it's 2022, I'm
Mhm.
pretty sure. So yeah, like that. It's yeah. That one is pretty new. So it's gonna be a long while before we cover that one. But that's okay. We got time. We're gonna make it through all of them. That's why we're here. And so in the next episode, we will be discussing Batman Year One. And so until then, salutations.